Hey, what's going on, guys? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the all-new Lenovo P11 Android tablet. Now, this is not to be confused with the Lenovo P11 Pro, which is a more expensive tablet, albeit it's actually a really decent tablet, but when I did my review, I did state that it was overpriced. This is the P11. It's a step down from the Pro, but the price does reflect that. Coming in at $229, this could turn out to be one of the best budget Android tablets of 2021. So what we have here is an 8-core Snapdragon processor, an 11-inch IPS 2K screen, quad speakers, 4GB of RAM, 64GB of internal storage, and it's packed inside of this really sleek little design here. Let me go ahead and get this thing powered on. And I did hit the button. Hopefully it's got some charge in it. Let me hold it for a few seconds. And there we go. So yeah, I'm hoping that this turns out to be a nice little tablet. Along with the P11 tablet, you're also going to get a 20-watt charger, our USB Type-C cable, and I believe that's about it inside of this box here. Since this is the non-Pro version, we don't have an AMOLED display, but it's a really nice looking 2K IPS. Round back here, we got this dual tone design. We do have a volume rocker and our power button over here. Like I mentioned, this has quad speakers built in, 2 on each end, and it supports Dolby Atmos, and this thing will support up to a 1TB micro SD card, but we only have 64GB of internal storage. Now, there is rumor that they're going to be releasing a 128GB version. That's obviously going to bring the storage up, but it also brings the RAM up from 4 to 6, and I have not seen that online. I wasn't able to pick one up. But when it comes to the specs of the model I have here, for that CPU, we have the Snapdragon 662, the GPU is the Adreno 610, 4GB of LPDDR4X RAM, 64GB of internal storage, plus a micro SD card slot, good up to 1TB, AC Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.1, an 11-inch 2K IPS display, a 7500 mAh battery, and they're claiming up to 12 hours of video playback from this. Quad speakers with Dolby Atmos, and it's running Android 10 right out of the box. Alright, so here it is. When it comes to UI performance, the Snapdragon CPU they're using in here can definitely handle Android 10. Now, this did come with some bloat, and this is something I really hate seeing, but there's a couple Microsoft apps which can be deleted. There's My Lenovo and the Dolby Atmos. Those ones can be disabled, but I would definitely leave that Dolby Atmos going. Also has the Kids Corner built in, so if you want to set this up for a kid, you can kind of disable different apps and things like that. Since we're running a legitimate version of Android, we do have full access to Google Play. And overall, it's been a really enjoyable experience. With that 4 gigs of RAM, I haven't noticed any lag at all with the UI here. Lenovo claims up to 12 hours of battery life with video playback, and I'm sure that's probably at the lowest brightness, but with that 7500 mAh battery, you should get some really good playtime out of this thing. Speaking of video playback, through Netflix, we can get Full HD. This only supports Widevine Level 1, even though we have that 2K screen, and even when it comes to YouTube, we can only go up to 1080p 60. I was really hoping we could get 2K out of this. Maybe down the road they'll throw an update out that allows it, but at 1080p, still looks great on the screen, and it'll play perfectly fine. Gotta say, the speakers that they use in this thing sound absolutely amazing. We have that quad speaker array, and it does get way too loud. And by too loud, I don't mean it distorts or anything like that. At full volume, it does sound great, but it's just overpoweringly loud for a tablet. I also ran some benchmarks. First up, we have 3D Mark Wildlife. This is a Vulkan benchmark, and we only scored a 373. Not great. And the same thing kind of goes for Geekbench 5, single core 298, multi 1248. I thought I'd see much higher scores on both of these here. But when I moved over to Slingshot and Antutu, it started to look a lot better. For Slingshot, this is an OpenGL test. We scored a 1073. And Antutu came in over 200,000, which is great for a budget tablet. Now, when you're talking about high-end phones, this isn't a great score, but when it comes to these budget tablets, this is pretty decent. Now it's time to move over to some native Android gaming. For these first two games, I will be using an Xbox controller connected over Bluetooth. Here we have Minecraft, 12 chunks. We still have fancy graphics on, and it performs great. I've always had really good luck on these Snapdragon chips when it comes to Minecraft, so this will be fully playable on this tablet. Asphalt 9 is another one that's going to perform really well on this tablet. I didn't go in and change any of the settings. There are a few graphical settings that we can actually go in and change, but I'm still using that Xbox controller, and I'm getting great performance. I also went through and tested Call of Duty Mobile. Now, I'm not a big fan of playing this on a bigger screen because it's really hard to reach some of these buttons here, but it does perform well. I'm at medium settings with the frame rate at high. Not bad at all, but this is a very well optimized game. They've done a great job getting this to run on lower end chips, so let's move up to something a little harder to run, and that's going to be Genshin Impact. This is just a harder one to run on lower end chips, and we are struggling here with the Snapdragon 662. Unfortunately, even at the lowest settings at 30 FPS, you will have some stuttering going on. Now it's time to move over to some emulation testing. First up, we have Dreamcast using the Redream emulator. This is Sonic Adventure 2, and we're upscaled to 1280 by 960. Getting great performance here. It is running at full speed. Next on the list, N64 using Mupin 64 plus FZ. I was also able to upscale this to 600 by 800, and when it comes to N64 on this chipset, I've tested it in the past, it works great. Moving up a bit to PSP using PPSSPP, here we have Tekken Dark Resurrection upscaled to 3x using the Vulkan backend, no frame skip, no hacks, and it's running at 60. But this is an easier game to emulate, so let's check out how Chains of Olympus performs. With this one, I'm still using that Vulkan backend, but I did have to take it down to 1x. I'm actually really surprised to see this running at 60. Every once in a while you'll see it dip, but it's decent performance for what we have here. Moving over to some DS emulation using the standalone version of Drastic from the Google Play Store. If you want to play DS games on your Android device, even if it's a lower end, definitely check out Drastic because there's a good chance it's going to run these games. And the final emulation test I ran was Gamecube using the Dolphin emulator. The Snapdragon 662 in this tablet just isn't cut out for Gamecube emulation. Now there are a couple games that do run at full speed like Wind Waker and Beautiful Joe, but don't go out and buy this specifically for Dolphin. Next up, we have some Geforce Now running Cyberpunk 2077. This is streaming from their servers. I'm using that Xbox controller, and keep in mind, I'm connected to my 5 GHz network because we do have AC Wi-Fi built in. So game streaming is definitely possible on this tablet.
Hey, you with me, chica?
The final thing I wanted to test on this tablet was a little bit of game streaming using xCloud. Now, I'm actually a big fan of this. I also tested out Stadia and Geforce Now. As long as you have a decent internet connection, this does have AC Wi-Fi built in, you should get pretty good performance. But one of my favorites is xCloud, and they've recently added GTA 5, so I figured I'd go ahead and test it out. And performance really isn't that bad. You'll still deal with some input latency. I have that Xbox controller connected over Bluetooth. Plus, we're streaming this game, which is all going to add to input latency. But if you can kind of get used to it, this is playable. Overall, I think Lenovo did a pretty great job here with the P11. I've actually tested a lot of Lenovo tablets on my channel, especially the budget ones, and this is one of the best. If you were to face this off against the P11 Pro, the P11 Pro is going to win every single day. We have a better screen and a better CPU. But given the price of this thing at $229, I think it's a great budget option. It would have been nice to see 1440 playback in Netflix and YouTube. And like I said, hopefully they do update the software so we can get a higher wideband level here to get that out of it. Because after all, we're really not taking advantage of this 2K screen. We've got great battery life, an awesome sound system, and decent performance. Keep in mind, this is the Snapdragon 662. It's not a top-of-the-line chip at all. These are in mid-range phones, but it's definitely enough to get you by. With media consumption, tons of different native Android apps and games are going to run at full speed on this thing, and as you saw, we do get some pretty decent emulation performance out of this machine also. So yeah, if you're looking for a budget tablet and you know what you're getting into, I do think this would be worth $229, given the prices of tablets right now. But if you're looking for the top of the line stuff, I would go with the Samsung Galaxy S6. You can pick up a refurbished one for like $360 on eBay. Or if you want to go all out, as I'm making this video here, the most powerful tablet on the market is the Samsung Galaxy S7. And that thing is absolutely amazing. But you could basically buy 2 of these for the price of that one. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Really appreciate you watching. If you're interested in learning more about the Lenovo P11, I will leave a few links in the description. If there's anything else you want to see running on this tablet, just let me know in the comments below. And like always, thanks for watching.